There's a comical story told amongst the baseball fans of Mexico pertaining to an incident that allegedly occurred at the pearly gates of heaven on September the 7th, 1997. As Christian teachings detail, St. Peter admits souls deemed worthy and pious into heaven after their deeds are examined and judged. September 7th was a normal day for Peter until he was faced with a dashing, hulking Adonis of a man with his trusty 34-inch baseball bat in his hand, the one he used in life to take fortnights of sleep away from the pitchers of Mexico. Peter, however, though he was a baseball fan like most, didn't recognize the man. Nor did many American baseball fans of that era. After a while, the Lord himself intervenes, recognizing him immediately, and saying to Peter, "Don't be a coward. Pitch to him."
What happened next? No one knows. But most people assume that this mysterious hitter managed to make his way behind the pearly gates where he belonged. This is the story of that slugger, the man they called El Nino, Mexico's finest power hitter and the pride of the baseball-loving state of Chihuahua. On this episode of Global Baseball's Finest.
Chihuahua, Mexico, 1939. From the time the game was introduced in Mexico, Chihuahua's state leagues had drawn comparable and even better crowds compared to the LMB crowds of the day. The third of three brothers in the Gonzalez family is born on June the 6th of that year, named Hector. Hector's older brothers were both ball players, later becoming players on local Chihuahua State League teams. But when they were younger, the two older Gonzalez boys would go to a local sandlot to play pickup games with their friends. Hector would tag along, filling out the field as a bat boy. One day, however, as the apocryphal story goes, one of the boys playing on the sandlot asked, "¿Quién es el niño?" Who's the kid? And that's how Hector El Nino Gonzalez got his nickname. As Hector got older, he would never lose his nickname, and kept it throughout his 1962 league championship winning rookie season for the Sultans of Monterrey. He started out strong, hitting .358 with 12 triples and 23 home runs. 2 years later, in the season he became a star, he hit a whopping .371 with 117 RBIs, coming off the back of a record-breaking 46 home runs. And his name would go into the record books, choosing to be known professionally not by his last name, but his middle name, Hector Espino. Though he was known throughout Mexico, Hector would come into contact with the first wrinkle in his tail very soon after that season ended. It's worth noting that the LMB falls under the umbrella of the minor leagues in the United States, and all stats count towards records in MILB. And usually, as we would later see with men like Fernando Valenzuela, most of Mexico's finest were expected to try to make it big in the major leagues. Espino's work drew the attention of a great many major league clubs after his 1964 season, with LA, Houston, and Cleveland all making overtures toward him. The Yankees and Cardinals came the closest, and it would be St. Louis that would earn his signature for the 1965 season. And Hector would play out that year for the Cardinals' AAA affiliate in Jacksonville. He was hyped up, even arriving in a helicopter that bore a message on a banner. The message read, "Espino has arrived." It looked like he was about to start an unbelievable Hall of Fame career, becoming part of the great Cardinal teams of the late 60s, alongside Brock, Flood, and Gibson. But it never happened. A year later, after receiving an invite to Cardinal spring training, he was gone, reappearing back in Mexico in June to play out the 1965 season with his adoring public in Monterrey. Major league teams continued to approach his representatives throughout his career to no avail. Hector had batted 332 games for Jacksonville and absolutely was good enough to make the majors, but he never reported, and as a result, never became a household name in the United States. Throughout his career post-1965, Espino's batting average dropped below 300 only once, and that included his seasons in the LMP, Mexico's Winter League. He played in 6 Caribbean series, winning 1, and his career ended with induction into the Caribbean Baseball Hall of Fame. As for his stats, though not exact, he finished with 2,752 hits, 373 doubles, 45 triples, 1,573 RBIs, 453 home runs, and a career average of .335. Like the Babe in the U.S., most of his records have since been broken, but he is no less beloved. But unlike Babe, his talent, at least in Mexico, had few equals. He died of a heart attack on September 7th, 1997, as one of the most legendary heroes of Mexican baseball, even having a stadium in Hermosillo that bore his name. I wanted to tell Espino's story for one specific reason, and revolves around comments made by his roommate on his first ever semi-pro team in his home state of Chihuahua, the man who would later go on to bring another legendary Mexican, Fernando Valenzuela, to the U.S. to stay, the infamous Cuban scout, Mike Brito. Brito said of Espino, quote, "Unfortunately, he never played in the United States, but I think if he would have been a 300 hitter. He was that much of a talent." Obviously, Brito is absolutely right, except for one thing. Espino, nor every single person who called themselves a fan of Espino, would not use the word "unfortunately" to describe his return to Mexico. Instead of trying to prove his talents on baseball's biggest stage, he decided that he had nothing to prove, and he gave up his image as a Mexican prodigy in the major leagues in order to embrace being a legend of baseball in Mexico. Put simply, he wanted to be known as a baseball player and not a Mexican baseball player. It's quite interesting to wonder what the careers of men like Clemente, Carew, Minoso, and Ichiro might have looked like had they never come to the major leagues. Maybe baseball might have looked a bit more like soccer does now, with worldwide dominance fluctuating from year to year. Maybe the World Baseball Classic might be just as popular as the World Cup in this strange alternate universe. I won't get too far into the what-ifs, but I'll leave you with something to think about. With men like Espino, men like Martin Dihigo and Josh Gibson, Choi Dong-won and Sadaharu Oh, there's one question that does warrant asking. What about the nameless ones? The phenoms who plied their trade on sandlots, semi-pro fields, and in industrial leagues their whole lives. What if the most talented ball player who lived on planet Earth never played Major League Baseball?
Another episode of Global Baseball's Finest in the book, and with every passing iteration of this, enjoy making it more. Please do like and share this video if you enjoyed it and you know somebody who would enjoy it right along with you, and subscribe and hit that bell icon down there below the video screen to make sure that you are notified every single time we upload a new video to get you out there your fix all about the world's greatest game. I've been Marshall Emmert. This has been another episode of Global Baseball's Finest. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see ya in the next one. But for now, that's the game.